Hey there, good morning. Welcome back to my garden. It is an absolutely gorgeous morning here in late May. We have been blessed with such beautiful weather in my area in Oregon, zone 8B. Our next 10 days are in the weather forecast is just gorgeous. High 60s for the high, lows in the 50s, even down into the 40s, I think. So, I mean, this is just like the epitome of springtime in the garden for me. I just love it. Today, we're going to be working on cleaning up some containers. I have some that I've had planted up since last year, last fall. This one I'm looking at, I actually planted up last summer and then changed it up for the fall. It's been beautiful throughout the spring. I'll talk to you a little bit about that. But it's time for a change. It's time to make it look a little bit more summery than spring/fall. I also have a hanging basket that we're going to work on, and then also just a little window box that's on my garden shed. That I just want to change out some pansies, and that'll be a really quick, simple job. But I'll turn you around and show you the container that I'm looking at right here next to the goat pasture. And yeah, we'll get cleaning it up and planting in some new things. Okay, so first of all, you can see our two border collies doing well. We have three. The other one is trying to eat her breakfast, but you can see what the other two do here constantly with the goats in there and the chickens. They just run hot laps around this corner here, which is why I put this little garden in a watering container, or a horse trough, I guess you could call it. This is just a galvanized horse trough. I think it's about 4 feet, 4 feet long, about 2 feet wide. I actually found it down by our barn, as well as those other two that are up there. They're no longer functional for holding water because they're rusty and they have holes. So I thought, well, that's perfect vessel for a little container garden right here on this corner that needs to be elevated up and protected from the dogs doing their crazy dog thing. So when I first planted up this horse trough, I put in the serviceberry. That was one of the very first things. This is an autumn brilliant serviceberry. It's kind of the thriller, I guess, in this container, this large container. It's not a huge tree, so I figured it would last pretty well in this container. Hoping to be able to keep it in here indefinitely, I guess. And then when I first planted this up, I believe I had pink cashmere and nepeta. I put in some grasses that are actually still in here that are coming back. They're perennial grasses. You can see those right there. Oh, what else did I have in here? Maybe some salvia? I'd have to look back and see. But anyway, then I planted up in the fall last year. I put in the heuchera and the violas, the Dusty Miller. I think the Dusty Miller was in there originally. Gosh, it's terrible. I can't remember. But anyway, over the spring, I took out, I also put in some cabbage, some ornamental cabbage. So once that was done, I pulled those out, and in the place where you can see these 3 sunflowers, in the very early spring, I got 3 of the show off forsythia, and I just kept them in their containers and I plopped them in these 3 spots, and it was so beautiful. And then when those were done, I put those out in the landscape, and then I got some lilacs. And then I got some lilacs and I put them in here while they were in bloom, and that was beautiful. Now those are out in the garden. So what I'm going to do now, these actually aren't planted in here yet. They're still in their containers. But what I'm going to do now is pull out the violas. I'm going to trim down the Dusty Miller. This whole look, it's very full. It's very, I don't know, showy, I guess, but it's just a little overgrown, and it doesn't look summery to me. It looks winter/fall-ish. So yeah, so pulling out the violas, trimming back the Dusty Miller. I'm going to kind of assess the soil. I might need to lift it up a little bit. I have some raised bed mix that I'm going to put in, I think. And then we're going to plant in some pink. I have these here. These are just a little Calibrachoa Neo Double Pink. Calibrachoa famous, mini famous. I don't have much experience with these, but I did put them into some of the containers on the front porch. And I think that they'll just do really well here. They don't need a lot of water, which I think is ideal for the sunflowers and the Dusty Miller that's in there. And then I think I'm also going to put in a couple of these salvia. I had 4 of these. I have 4 of them I was going to put in the window box on my garden shed, but I just think that'll be too much. So I have 2 of those for that. And then I think I'm just going to try to figure out plugging these into this bed too. Can't have that. So this is the unplugged pink salvia by Proven Winners, and you can see the stats here. Height about 14 to 30 inches, and spacing to 12 inches. So they will be snug in this bed. I also was dealing with, just this morning I noticed these had some aphid activity on them, so I was kind of, well, first of all, I was squishing them a lot, trying to just to get them off, and then I did spray the plant with some of the Captain Jack's dead bug brew, I believe is what it's called. So hopefully those will not be an issue. I don't worry too much about aphids. I kind of like to squish them. I like to get in really close to the plant and examine them and squish them. But that would be a bummer if it spread, to these and throughout the rest of the bed. So I'll have to be watching that. I think first things first, we're just gonna get the violas out, and then we'll start trimming away and placing in these plants. I think I might actually also pull out all these weeds here and just kind of fill around the bed, fill around the container with maybe some hog fuel that I have, some just bark chip type of mulch, just around the bottom. I won't bring it out here or anything because the dogs, obviously, you can see they just have a trench here that they run. So I won't do that, but I'll maybe just clean up around the bottom of the planter as well. Okay, so here's where I'm at right now. I got all of the pansies pulled out, or the violas pulled out, and the heuchera kind of cleaned up. I did pull out a couple of the Dusty Miller that were tucked in there that I weren't really thriving, and I just kept the two on the back, pruned those back a little bit. And I did notice that this grass has just very minimal growth on it. This one's doing better, but I don't think I should depend on those for being, anything significant in this little container. So I'm thinking about digging that one out, and that one, and putting two of the sunflowers back there, one up in the front, and yeah, I think I'm probably going to do that. Yeah, I think that would work out. I did also have to just stop for a second and get the goats out and put them onto the fence, because as much as I love these dogs, they are driving me crazy running around the pasture. And as soon as the goats are out and Teak feels like he is actually doing something, he just basically rests by them and watches them. So I had to get them out, or else Teak would have driven us all kind of batty. So anyway, I think I'm just going to lay out the plants now and get a feel for kind of their layout. That would be good. I'm going to put in some biotone and some slow release fertilizer into the bed also, and maybe have to top it up with a little bit. I can't obviously do too much because I don't want to bury the trunk of the service berry, so I don't think I'll have to or will be able to add too much, but I can maybe bring some into the front so that I can lift the plants up just a little bit as I plant them in. I didn't mention these are the Sunfinity sunflowers. It says the next generation of sunflowers. They'll bloom continuously all season long with multiple stems going all over the place, and they have this sweet sort of frilly center. So these, I think, will be a very cheerful addition to this little garden. Okay, it's all finished up and I think it looks so sweet. I just got it all watered in. And I just, the change that just a few plants can make is so amazing in a container. Isn't it just so sweet and cheery? It is just amazing to me what a difference it can make to take out those pansies that were just kind of a darker pink and changing it in for the brighter pink. And then having the pops of the salvia and, obviously the Dusty Miller cleaned up and the heuchera cleaned up. I love how this turned out. And the colors in this really do coordinate really well with the other planters that I have up there by the carport, because we have the bright pink and calibrachoas up there that are the smitten pink, I believe they are, and then even just the lemon coral sedum that corresponds with the heuchera. And I also have some sun credible sunflowers up there that aren't, the same variety as these, but still it kind of just all ties together. And even though they're far from each other, I just love how they coordinate. So, and I did decide just to leave the grass here. I don't think it's necessary for me to spend the time to clean that out right now when I have other containers that I want to be getting done. So now we're going to head up to the patio. I actually forgot when I mentioned it first what we were going to be doing today. I have 2 containers on our side patio that I want to clear out. I want to move what's in them out into the gardens and kind of just simplify them. So let's go look up there at those ones. So here's the next container that we're going to be working on. This one is, beautiful and full still, but you can see the viola is pretty much done, mostly because I haven't been watering this very much. And there's a heuchera in there. There's an ascot rainbow euphorbia. There's a couple Dusty Miller. And then right over here is actually a small viburnum. It's the spring bouquet variety. And I don't know, I just feel like that would benefit from getting out and into the ground. The heuchera, I have another spot for it. Yeah, just kind of ready for a refresh on this one. And same with on this one. This one has a heuchera in it and a Dusty Miller and then a little sad lemon cypress. But mostly, I really want to free up this little boxwood here. And so I think I'm going to take all this out and just replant the boxwood in here. And I do have a spot that I really am looking forward to putting. I have this heuchera. I have one over here still in a container. And then this heuchera, I have a spot that I think would be really, really pretty for those 3 to go. So just kind of with that in mind, and then also with it in mind that I have this beautiful shrub. This is Scentlandia. It's a sweet spire, and I got one of these last year, and it smells so wonderful. And when I found this and they were on a really good sale, I got 2 of them. I thought, where can I put this that I can really enjoy the smell? And it dawned on me that I can just put it in this container and it'll be right by our door. I'll be able to smell it whenever I come out onto the patio, and it'll be just delightful. So it does bloom for a good amount of time. So we'll be able to enjoy that for a while, and then it'll just be a pretty green shrub in there. And then it does also get gorgeous, gorgeous fall color. So I don't know that I'll necessarily leave it all the way through the season. We'll see. I very well could. And then I'm going to underplant it with just some sweet alyssum. This is just kind of a generic, just the basic purple shades of sweet alyssum. I don't have much experience with it, but I just thought it was very sweet. I got it for another spot and then didn't end up using it there. So I think I'm just going to underplant this guy with those. And I think it'll look a lot neater, a lot tidier, and it'll be a nice change. just got these pots finished up. They're super simple, but I'm really happy with how they turned out, and I think it looks really nice here on the side patio. All right, so here's the little one that we ended with just the boxwood in it. I think this is like Little Missy maybe, and so it is one that will stay super dwarf. Really sweet little guy, and I just figured this would give it a good chance to root in, have its own space, and just kind of be a simple, nice rest for the eye. So you guys know I like boxwood, and I'm happy to have that one have a little bit of breathing room. So just looks nice with this spruce that's right here, and then this one over here. So sorry about the light. It's a little bit harder to see it, but we have the Scentlandia itea right here, also called Sweet Spire, and then just a little Sweet Alyssum underneath it, which also should smell pretty good. So I just think this is nice and calming, welcoming to our side door, and I'm happy with these changes. So then I just have this little collection down here, the 4 Dusty Miller. I'm going to do my best to actually just keep these in containers, I think, see if I can keep them healthy throughout the summer, and then probably use them up in containers in the fall. And then the little viburnum that I will definitely have a place for because I love that shrub, and 2 of the heuchera, which these are the say apple twist, I believe they're proven winners variety, and I just have been so happy with those. Like I said before, I have 3 of them, and I have a perfect spot, I think, for those 3 to go. And then the Ascot Rainbow Euphorbia. Over here into the shade. There you go. You can see them a little bit better. I just put them into this container here and put a little bit of water in the bottom of it. I didn't want to water the root balls too much, just to not try to rinse off the dirt. But I put some water in the bottom so they could kind of soak those up and be hopefully happy until I can get out and put them into the ground. So now we're going to head onto the back porch, and we're going to plant up a hanging basket, which is going to be in the shade. So it's kind of a fun, little bit of different design, I guess, than I've normally done. So yeah, let's go back and get that one done. Okay, here we are on the back patio, and these are the plants that I'm going to be planting into this little hanging basket. It's going to hang right up here. You can see that hook right there. So what we're working with today is 2 kind of new to me. I've heard of them, but I haven't planted them. Annuals. They're called Broalia. And obviously you can see one is a kind of a purpley blue, one is a white. The crazy thing about these is that they are part shade to shade, and evidently they just bloom and bloom and bloom like you would expect a sun annual to do. It's super, well, it's rare. It's rarer, I guess, to have a shade annual that blooms so prolifically and all summer long, all season long. I heard about these, especially this white variety, from Stacy on Gardening Simplified. If you guys listen to that show, the Proven Winners Color Choice Shrubs people put it on, and it's just an awesome podcast. It's also on YouTube. Anyway, she was talking about how much she loves this one, and she said, if you see it in your garden center, swipe it up. And I'm back. Sorry, it's a new day. Yesterday, my phone ran out of battery, and then I had to go in and charge it, and then realized that my boys needed help with all sorts of stuff for their schools because we're in the final weeks of school. They do school at home, but they're not technically homeschooled. So anyway, but I needed to help them. So never got back out to finish my projects. So we're going to be finishing up out here on the back patio with the hanging basket, and then we're going to go do the window box really quick. Both of these should be pretty fast, but like I was saying yesterday when I was talking about the annuals, I'm going to be using some Broalia, which is the white variety, and also this kind of bluish purple variety. And then I'm also using a calla lily, this one right here. I saw it at one of the garden stores when I was there recently, and I just thought it was absolutely beautiful. My friend picked one up, and she said that she has them in her yard, and they come back for her. We're in zone 8B, and so I guess they are a perennial here for us. But I just thought that the coloring of this would look really, really pretty with the annuals that we have over here, because we have the Bordeaux and we have the plum vein, and I just thought that the colors would look really, really nice together. So that is what we're going to be putting into this hanging basket. And what I'm going to do first is actually take out all of this soil. I'm going to empty out this bag because I want to use the bag for a liner inside the cocoa liner here of the hanging basket so that it retains water better. And then I will refill it with some soil. I'm going to use some of the Soil Moist in there, as well as some biotone and some slow release fertilizer. And then we'll get these planted and then topped up with some more soil. here's a look at it all done. That was pretty easy to plant up. I went ahead and, as you saw, lined it with the plastic bag on the inside, cut some holes in that, then put a little bit of the layer of the soil in and put just maybe about a teaspoon probably of the soil moist little capsules in there. That will help retain water when I do water. So they hold on to a lot of water, and so hopefully I will not have to water this guy as often. So I have 8 of the Broalia in there, just rotated those back and forth, and then obviously just 1 of the calla lilies. And just the more I look at this, the more I just absolutely love it. I hope that it does well in this container. If it doesn't, I have a feeling chances are the Broalia would just kind of fill in if I had to take the calla lily out, but I hope it does. I hope it does well. This area will get morning sun for probably about like 4 hours maybe. So I hope that it's good for both of these plants. So I did water it in really well. It's just sitting in this container. I dumped out all of the soil that was in the container, and then watered this in really well, hoping that the soil will settle and the soil moist will soak up some of the water. And then probably later this evening I'll have my husband help me to hang it up there, because it will be pretty heavy, but I wanted to give it its first good deep watering before it was hanging up so that I could just really make sure I was watering it adequately. So here's just a view from the top. The blue ones are a lot more compact, and I don't know if that's just because of how they were grown at the nursery, but that'll be interesting to see the habit of those, how they change and just how they do in this container. Okay, now we're gonna head over to the garden shed, and we're just gonna get a couple plants into the window box that I have over there. It's already planted up, but we're gonna add in some summer annuals. Here's the next spot that we're gonna be working on. So most of this is staying in here. This is just, I think, a 36-inch long window box. It has the wrought iron metal frame, and then it has the cocoa liner on this one. I unfortunately did not put plastic on the inside of this one, and so it is a little bit tricky to water, but thankfully I have 3 sedum and then 2 creeping rosemary in there, which don't really need a lot of water. They appreciate having fast draining soil, so that's great. And the violas actually held up pretty well. So, but I am going to be taking those out. This spot is, I guess it's west facing, so it does get pretty hot sun towards the end of the day. So I need to have stuff in here that can handle that. So I'm going to take out the pansies, and here's what I'm going to be putting in. I'm going to be putting in 2 of the scavola. These are the Stardiva Whirlwind Blue. Stardiva Blue, sorry. So full sun, 8 to 14 inches tall. They do kind of just spread though. I notice, well, if they have the same habit as the white, they just kind of spread out. And so I'm hoping that they'll just kind of spill over the edge. So these, as you can see, they're fan flower, but they do have it more in the shape of a star, which is why they're called Stardiva. So, and then I have 2 of these same unplugged pink salvia that we put into the horse trough up in the front yesterday, but earlier in the video. And so yeah, I have 2 more of those, and those will kind of be obviously the backstory of the planter. Those are going to be taking the places of where I had 2 little, well, actually I had 4 little mini daffodils earlier in the spring, but I already pulled those out quite a while ago. So I'll just be putting in 2 of those because these ones can get kind of large, and I don't really want the roots to be too competing with all the other things. And then the 2 Stardiva in place of the pansies. Okay, this little sweet window box is all finished. It was kind of a bummer because I did decide that I should move the rosemary. You can see it right here. I decided to move it over, both of them over towards the center, and they were already pretty rooted in, and so that made me kind of sad. But I just thought it looked a lot better to have the Star Diva on the outside of it, on the edges there, and then the salvia in the middle. So I was kind of debating of what to do for that, but I think I think in the long run it looks nicer. So then the Star Diva can really kind of fill in that area if it decides to go, upward, and I think that'll look good. And I had to just kind of fill in some soil in the back, and yeah, so have to remember to keep this guy watered because this is a tricky one to keep wet. So I was happy to see how well this sedum and the rosemary were already doing. So yeah, we'll give you updates on how this guy does. Hopefully, hopefully it does okay. I think really quick before we totally finish up, I'm going to go get the heuchera in the ground that we took out of the containers on the side patio. Those have just been in that bucket that I put them in overnight with some water in it. They're still looking okay, but I think they would just benefit to get into the ground really quick. So we'll just go do that, and then we'll be all finished. Okay, here underneath this butterfly bush in this front bed that's right next to our driveway is where I'm thinking for the heuchera. This spot I think it's perfect for them because it will get morning sun, which these guys like. They can handle a little bit more sun, but I think it'll be perfect for them. And right here in this spot, I think it needs something bright. I was thinking about doing some sort of annuals, but yeah, I'm thinking that the brightness of these heuchera, and they'll kind of coordinate with the heuchera that are just right across the driveway in the container we just worked on. I think that they will be perfect right here. So let's just get them in the ground. I think those turned out great right there. I just think that's just what that spot needed. Some brightness in between the barberry and kind of the bluish coloring of the butterfly bush. So yeah, those look great. I think they'll look, happier once they get watered and get settled in. You can see that pop of color right there just peeking up over those rocks. That's perfect. I'm excited. All right, that'll do for this project finally. It seems like probably just a few minutes for you guys, but it was 2 days for me. So I'm glad to have this one checked off the list. And also really feeling happy about having containers that just needed a little bit of a refresh, not to have to redo the whole thing. I mean, obviously I did that on a few of them, but using things that can be put into the garden, using things that may have their lifespan, but then can just be simply replaced with something else while leaving the rest in the container intact. And just cleaning it up a little bit. That's fun for me. It's a fun challenge, and I just enjoy seeing the progression of beds and having certain elements just kind of continue on in the container. So anyway, I hope you guys found this inspirational. Maybe you got some ideas for yourself for some containers that you want to try out. And if nothing else, I hope you just enjoyed watching these containers come together here. So thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video. Bye.